What is up, you guys? And happy prom season! All right, y'all, I really try to go all out for this video, okay? Peep the flowers. And I have a whole gown on. Like, y'all gotta peep the vision, okay? Peep the vision. Hold on, let me show y'all the dress. You guys peep? I'm doing this for you guys. I'm mic'd up here. But we're doing it. Y'all see the vibes? Here we are. I really had to go all out for you guys. Plus, I kind of miss prom, okay? It's been 5 years. And you know what? This might be a controversial take, I don't know. Or maybe it's like an unpopular opinion. But prom should not be for 18-year-olds, okay? Prom should be for college students. I think that makes it the most fun. You have your bachelor's degree. You're all able to drink. Y'all don't have to worry about people having to be on tippy toes and having to have administration there. We're all adults. We're all grown. Why is prom not for college kids? Why is it for high school kids? Maybe we wouldn't be having this conversation if it was for college kids because they would all be grown. But you know what? We'll talk about all that a little bit later. But you guys, today we're going to be speaking about prom. People find prom to be very extra today, and they feel as if students, more specifically Black students, do the absolute most for prom, and that there are just a lot of controversial ideas behind prom. And I am one that has had some thoughts, but with research, my opinion has shifted. This is a reminder. It is always okay to change your opinion after learning new information, guys, okay? I promise, okay? But before we get into today's video, let's start off with a little bit of positivity. Today's quote of the day is, "I choose to make decisions out of hope instead of fear." Today's verse of the day is Psalms chapter 25, verses 4 through 5, and it reads, "Guide me in your truth and teach me, for you are God my Savior, and my hope is in you all day long." And without further ado, you guys, let's get straight into today's video. Taking you in this moment. Every single time the spring season comes, there is a very important coming of age event that students look forward to, specifically seniors in high school. And every time this event comes around, there is a public discourse, at least that's what it seems to be, about what these teens are wearing and why they're wearing it, whether it's too much or whether it's too little, and then the discussion of Black versus white prom. Prom seems to be such a prevalent event in every teen's life, but this hasn't always been the case. In fact, prom is fairly new, more specifically for Black students. Before we get into this, let's begin with the history of prom. So actually, in the late 19th century, which was the 1800s, if you guys did not know, okay, prom was not even for high schoolers. And y'all know, this is what I believe prom should be for. I feel like it needs to be reinvented and thrown back to how it used to be. Well, not completely, because I wouldn't have been invited. But let me further explain what the importance of prom was back then. So prom was actually a fancy event for college students, okay? And it was heavily prevalent in the Northeast. And the concept of prom came from debutante balls. And if you don't know what a debutante is, there still are events, mainly in the South now, which is actually funny, that were catered to young girls. And it was about young girls finding a mate. Now, debutante balls are more so for like young women to have like some form of etiquette. But yes, that's what prom came from back in the 19th century, excuse me, the 1800s though. So at these debutante balls that I have been speaking on, this was the event where young women were introduced to other young eligible bachelors. So girls were at these events in order to find a partner, college girls. And these events were called coming out parties. And that was mainly because they were marked down as a girl's entry into womanhood and into society. So fast forward, in the 1920s, white high school girls began having what we know today as prom. And prom is short for promenade, if you did not know. So similar to the original concept of prom in the 19th century when it was in colleges, these proms were meant to teach high schoolers how to function as proper adults. And these proms followed certain expectations by society based upon gender roles. So basically a man seeking out a woman. And unfortunately, but not unexpectedly, Black students were excluded from these events. So Black students were not going to prom at the beginning of prom, even from the 19th century and even to when it was reinvented and brought back in the 1920s. So it took about 30 years for prom to become a massive event. So in the 1950s, prom really blew up. And I really wish I would have used a different word than blew up, but Prom got popular. You guys will see why I say this in a second. And it's not funny, but I just, my terminology, my wording made it funny. I don't know why. Yeah, okay, moving on. So prom became highly popular due to the post-war boom and a new focus of teenagers specifically being consumers in the market. They didn't realize how popular and how profitable teenagers could be. And with prom, and y'all can see the dots connecting, they learned that prom could be incredibly profitable due to teenage girls specifically being so excited to be courted by young men, getting dresses, trying to look their very best, getting their hair done, getting their corsages, heels, makeup, all that stuff in order to look their very best and to impress their dates. And of course, men with tuxes and their dress shoes and so on and so forth. So prom even had like advice books out. So in these advice books, it was highly discouraged for young women to ask young men to prom. And as you guys can see, even today, those same exact standards and etiquettes are still pushed upon children. Well, teenagers. I don't want to call them children, though they are, but yes, to teenagers. As we know, no young girl wants to ask a young guy to prom. It's mostly the other way around, hence why promposals got so massive. And it also alluded to the fact that if a young girl asked a man to prom, a young boy to prom, that it would look desperate. And in her looking desperate, it will actually limit her potential dating prospects. So y'all are probably asking, where do people that look like me come in? Black people were still not able to go to prom. And it wasn't until the 1954 Brown versus Board of Education ruling, which declared racial segregation in schools as unconstitutional, that it was briefly discussed Black students should be able to go to prom. However, as we know, white schools, predominantly in the South, stood strongly and firmly against the integration for Black and brown children to be in the same schools as white children. So a perfect example of this is when Charleston High School in Mississippi, they decided to have separate proms for Black and white students when Black students were allowed and eligible to go to prom in the 1970s. The parents decided to make a whole separate prom, and it was a white prom. So in reaction to this, Black parents decided to make their own prom for their children, as they should, okay? And clear as day, we ate y'all up, but that's not too much. We did though. But typically in general, outside of Charleston High School, Black students had separate proms, and these separate proms were heavily underfunded. They received far less attention and of course received far less resources compared to the white students. And these separate proms, clear as day, showed the deep-rooted racism that was held primarily in the South. Like the fact that you did not want your children to go to prom with Black students just based off the color of their skin is absolutely insane to me. And this is why I think racism is really a mental illness, because I don't understand how you can hate someone so much based off the color of their skin. Like you have to be mentally ill. But you know, we had our separate proms and we still ate y'all up. Not too much on it though. So the integration efforts of the civil rights movement, and it's so funny because we don't really talk about prom and like how bad it was when they were really trying to integrate schools. So all of those movements even included prom, okay? So like they were still trying to get the prom to be just one singular prom versus two separate proms. And this was before the 1970s, guys. When I mentioned Charleston High School, I was saying that when they finally integrated at Charleston High School, a majority of the white parents did not want their children being integrated with Black students. And of course, we all know, as we have seen in several occasions when it came to the civil rights movement and Black people standing on the fact that they believe integration should be, in fact, legal and segregation should be illegal, there was backlash from white people and there was backlash from the policies that are already put at hand. And with backlash came nothing but violence and racism. Well, enhanced racism, should I say. But of course, as we all know, as the civil rights movement progressed and a lot of those legal barriers were dismantled, eventually they were kind of forced to integrate proms. And though many schools eventually did, there were some that did not. And y'all are going to be shocked by this fact. When I was doing my research, I was appalled. I didn't even know this fact, okay? Please prepare to be literally shocked by how racist some communities still are to this day. Just barely 10 years ago, segregated proms were still a thing. Yes, they were still a thing regardless of integration happening, what, almost a century ago. Back to Miss Charleston High School, okay? So Charleston High School, which was the school that we mentioned earlier, the one where the parents made sure to continue separating prom, like they stood on business when it came to that. And it was mainly the white parents that were standing on business when it came to that. They received national attention in 1997 when Morgan Freeman stated that they would pay for the prom if they decided to integrate the prom. And even with his efforts to integrate the prom, and he gave out this great ultimatum, they still said, nope, sorry, we don't want to have prom with Black students. It's literally bewildering. I know. So the school refused for an extended 9 years, 9 different classes, to integrate prom until eventually in 2008, they had their first official integrated prom. 2008. Kids in 2008, they're not even at the prom era right now, right? Kids that were born then? Yeah, 2008. Yes, 15 years ago. 2008 was 15 years ago. So that just shows how recent this was. This is really recent. And if you guys actually want to check this out, there's actually a documentary about Charleston High and them not wanting to integrate prom, and it is called Prom Night in Mississippi. You can actually watch it now on the Roku channel. I have Roku in my bedroom, so I definitely will be checking that out. I love a good documentary. But shockingly, you guys, Charleston isn't even the most recent high school to desegregate prom. Students at Wilcox County High School in Ableville, Georgia, just had their very first integrated prom in 2013. And that whites only prom was scrapped the following year. So that means the whites only prom was still going on when they finally integrated. And then they finally got rid of it in 2014. So like I said, not even, well, just barely 10 years ago, we were still having segregated proms. So we're going to bring back the racism of prom a little bit later on, but I'm going to talk about like the evolution of prom right now and like why it's so expensive today. So please keep your ears on alert for like me speaking on what is considered Black prom today. Why is prom in general so expensive? That is one thing that people speak about a lot, is that prom is crazy expensive today. So we have to first begin with prom tickets. And one thing that I have always found bewildering, y'all gonna hear me use that word quite a bit in this video, is that prom tickets are even a thing, especially in a Catholic or private school. I just don't believe that it should be a thing when parents are paying thousands and thousands of dollars for their child to go to that school for 4 years. And I understand that prom is optional and it's a choice for a student to want to go to prom, but I still believe that it should be something that is a standard for every child to want to go to, because some students are not able to go to prom because of the cost of prom. So say they went to a private school on a scholarship and then they find out their prom ticket is $100, they're not able to go because of that. I don't remember exactly how much my prom ticket was. I'm almost certain it was about $100. I think it was. And I remember I was so shocked. I'm like, why is it so expensive? But that's just like the bare minimum. You have to get your ticket and your date has to get a ticket. It's not like, oh, $100 flat for like you and a date. No, it's you have to pay $100 and so does your date. And I get that there's like food, decorations, the venue, I get all of that. But once again, I feel like that should be incorporated as like a gift to the senior class for doing so well all of their 4 years of being at school. But you have tickets, then you have to get your dress, then you have to get your tux, and then you have to get your limousine. Oh wait, kids don't do limousines anymore, but we won't get into that a little bit later. Prom overall has become a cultural phenomenon. As I said, back in the 1950s, prom blew up. So you can only imagine that every single year after that, it just got more and more and more popular. This is like every teenage girl's dream, specifically teenage girl. And due to prom being like the epitome of being a teenager, it is put at such a high pedestal. And these young girls specifically are looking at social media and they're comparing their prom experience to others, hence why they're wanting a more luxurious experience to add on to their prom. So I would say prom is so expensive. The first reason is because of social expectations and just wanting to keep up with the Joneses. The next reason why I believe prom is so expensive is due to social media. Y'all do not realize how much social media has literally heightened the expense of prom. We gotta be real, y'all. If I'm being honest right now, a big component of me wanting to be the flyest at prom, okay, and look my absolute best was because of social media. I knew I wanted to do a prom vlog, which I did, and that was the kickstart of my YouTube career, which is so funny, but that got very popular. So I wanted to have like, oh my God, the most pop-in vlogs. I would watch other people's vlogs. I wanted to be the girl that just like stepped out because I wanted to go viral. I wanted to get on this prom page. It was called Hall of Prom. I don't know if if Hall of Prom is still as popular as it was back in the day, but I would like look on Hall of Prom for inspiration, and every girl wanted to get on Hall of Prom. Hall of Prom was a big deal. If you got on Hall of Prom, that means you made it. So in order to get on Hall of Prom, you had to have the best look out there. So that's what I wanted. People were tagging Hall of Prom. They were doing hashtag Hall of Prom. They were tagging every prom page you possibly can see because they wanted to get on those pages because it's like a social hierarchy. And outside of being featured on pages, social media platforms like Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok now. Yo, TikTok. The girls are showing out on TikTok. Kids are promoting and showcasing their elaborate prom experiences, and it's making other kids want to do the same exact thing or do even better to outshine the last person's prom. And not only that, when you see other people that are looking so amazing for prom, you may want to like step it up. Say you did not care to like really step it up, but you're like, oh crap, like everybody looks really good. Like this is like the standard. It's going to make you want to heighten how you look for prom. And that's not even just kids, that's anybody. Like think of a party you're going to, like you're always trying to say like, okay, am I underdressed or am I too overdressed? You're trying to adapt to everybody else. So with social media playing such a major role in like a kid's life, imagine what prom can do. Seeing all the prom looks, seeing all these prom video transitions, and you see like all the dresses, the glitter, the glamour, you're gonna want to match that level or surpass that level. I always say this when it comes to like girls doing photo shoots for like their birthdays or doing it for prom. I'm always like, did you do this for you or did you do it for the gram? And that's something that people really have to think about. And I like to think about that as well, because sometimes you don't even realize the things you're doing for the gram. Like you will spend all of this money to get a lot of likes on Instagram and you're not getting anything in return. Same with TikTok. People will spend all this money, talk about how much they spent, which we're going to get into a little bit later, because they're doing it all for social media. They're trying to get that attention. They're trying to step it up a notch. They're trying to stand out. They want to go viral, and they're doing it mainly for their social media feed. Once they get that picture perfect picture and they post it on their social media feed, they sit on their phone and they just scroll and scroll, waiting for the likes to roll in. My next component kind of ties into the last two things that I said, and that has to do with peer pressure. Students may feel pressure to keep up with the latest trends, keep up with looking their very best for prom due to them seeing their friends looking like that, or due to seeing other people their age looking so phenomenal for prom. There's literally a competitive aspect of prom that will have you doing the most, and with doing the most, the price of everything is going to go up. So you just spend and spend and spend because you're trying to outdo the next person and you're trying to look the best. Once again, this closely ties into my last point. My next point has to do with the importance of prom. Teenagers feel like this is like the pinnacle of their life. If you look back on it, it really is not. I remember I thought prom was like the most major moment of my entire life. Like it was so massive to me. So with students looking at prom as this, they're gonna want to make sure it's the most elevated experience ever. Like this is the only time I get to go to prom, and prom is important. Don't get me wrong. I think that every student should go to prom, even if they don't want to. I feel like they'll regret it later on. But it's not as big when you need to spend all that money. I feel like prom should be about just having fun. You shouldn't have to be wearing a $1,000 gown and having $5,000 bundles in your head in order to have a good time. I mean, half the time with the dresses these girls are wearing, they can't even move in them to enjoy prom. Once again, they're doing it for the photo ops. They're doing it for the likes. They're doing it for the viral moment. And in doing that, students and even parents may feel as if it is important to spend more for prom in order for their child to staple in this very monumental moment in their life. And last but certainly not least, I have to say this has to do with the parental influence, okay? I feel as if some parents really contribute to their child wanting to look their best for prom, okay? Some parents did not get to go to prom, and this is not because this might sound like a microaggression, but we're about to tie this into the Black community in just a second. But in some cases, some students' parents may not have been able to afford prom. So now that they're able to make more money or they saved up for their daughter or son's experience, they're going to go all out and splurge. And some parents are just competitive. So they're like, I'm about to spend a bag because my daughter gonna be the best looking one at that damn prom, okay? So it might be that like some parents are trying to fulfill their own nostalgic experience that they missed out on, or they just want to ensure that their child has this magical and memorable experience. So they're making sure they're spending every dime and penny that's gonna make sure their kid is happy. Those are all of my reasons why I would say prom is so expensive today. You see a lot of people, like whenever they post certain kids on prom night. When I went to prom in 2002, we just went to H&M and I grabbed a dress there. Or we just went to Macy's and I got my dress from there. My dress was $50. All of these reasons are why I believe prom has become increasingly expensive. Now let's get into Black prom versus white prom. And this is a constant discussion, and people constantly ridicule and criticize Black students for presumably spending a lot more money than white students when it comes to prom. So I just have this talking point listed as a simple question. Why do Black people spend so much for prom? So number one, in doing research, there is clear as day a cultural significance for Black students when they go to prom. If you look at a lot of cultures and communities, they all have like a coming of age celebration. And it's very rare that Black children have the same exact monumental celebration. So some of these rite of passage emerging into adulthood parties that other cultures have is like a quinceañera. I think, do boys have quinceañera? I think it's just girls. If you guys don't know what a quinceañera is, it marks the celebration of a 15-year-old Latina emerging into womanhood, emerging into adulthood. So this marks a major celebration. And you guys know it is a massive party. The birthday girl is wearing this massive, beautiful gown that is probably very expensive, and they put a lot of money into this. However, this isn't looked down upon. People know that this is such a major and monumental moment in a Latina young girl's life. Then we have the bar and bat mitzvahs, which are massive and huge in the Jewish culture, and there is a lot of money spent on those parties as well. The bar mitzvah is for boys when they turn 13, and the bat mitzvah is for a young girl when she turns 12 or 13. And once again, this signifies a child's coming of age party where they are now getting more serious within their religion and their faith and becoming men and women. And once again, this is a massive party. And then we have a sweet 16. Now, I know you guys might be like, okay, Black kids can have a sweet 16 as well. So I know and I understand that sweet 16 is an American tradition. It's not just for Black or white kids, but I'm going to say that sweet 16s in general, from what I have seen when you watch like the television shows, it is predominantly a huge party for white children coming of age. And this once again is seen as a transition into adulthood. So it's from you being a child to you emerging into a young lady or a young man. And we all know like the massive sweet 16s, because sometimes sweet 16s are just like celebrated with family at your cousin's apartment or at your grandma's house, or it can be like really big where you're getting a venue and you are doing the 16 candles and there's a party and there's a dress and all this stuff. Like I had a sweet 16, I'm Black, but once again, these are just like different coming of age celebrations that I'm speaking on. And from what I can identify with, I will say is that I believe Black students, Black children in general, look at prom as their coming of age party, or at least that's what their parents look at it as. Hence why they spend so much money. So while we're judging and we're looking at them, and I am one of them that would do so, it's interesting because we don't really do the same for other cultures. We don't act shocked when we see at a quinceañera $5,000+ are spent. We don't look at bar and bat mitzvahs where another couple thousand is spent, and then at 216s, we're not sitting there like, oh, the mother spent how much? It's the coming of age celebration. So I feel as if when it comes to Black African American young boys and young girls, they feel as if this is their coming of age. This is their moment. It seems as if every culture has a moment for a child to be highlighted as they're emerging into young men and young women. My next talking point just has to do with, in general, Black people, we know how to put it on, okay? We are just very fashionable beings, okay? Our culture, our style is constantly imitated, and we are always being highlighted, sometimes without credit, when it comes to fashion. And our style in general is just very unique. So when it comes to prom, I feel as if a lot of Black families come together to highlight this uniqueness and this fashionable setting within their prom look. So we'll look at some Black kids' proms and be like, oh my God, like, why are they like wearing that? Like, that is way too creative. But it's like, this is our moment to shine. I mean, if you look at not only African American culture, if you guys look at our African roots, we're always very extra, and not just extra in a bad way. We be looking good, okay? We know how to take something that is so simple, like a prom, and turn it into something magical. It's the Black girl magic in us, or the Black boy joy, whatever you want to call it, or wherever you want to reference. So with us wanting to make a statement for prom, the cost will definitely accumulate and keep racking up, okay? So that is one reason why I feel as if like there is like a Black versus white prom, and why Black people, Black children tend to stand out a bit more than the white proms and why there is a bit more money that seems to be spent for these black proms. And lastly, I'm gonna have to mention social media expectations once again. I mentioned social media expectations when it came to prom overall, but when it comes to black prom, I do believe indeed for black children, there is definitely a social media expectation put on them to do prom quote unquote well. Given that the black community is known for showing out and just looking bomb for prom, black children that are seen as maybe they're more minimalist, or maybe they don't care about prom, or maybe they don't have the funds for prom, they will feel the pressure to really step out and look their very best for prom because of what they're seeing from their peers on social media. All of this includes the heavily expensive dresses, the luxury transportation, the photographers, the videographers. Yes, y'all, they have videographers now. The pre-prom parties. Yes, there's like a party that people are having now before their kid gets sent off to prom. It's like send-off parties. Like not just like, okay, we're just gonna have some champagne at our house, but these parents are showing all the way out.
Ha! Our parents are lame because these proms are not the same. This watch party was crazy. Chicken sauce, bussin'. Pulling up in a Brabus G-Wagon, crazy. But to be followed by a Cullinan too, you one girl. Why two whips? Y'all boys get into this dress with me. I heard the headpiece was $7,500 alone. This dress has more VVs than most Cubans I've seen in the hood. Whoa, them foreigns was really pulling up back to back like cook crack. You feel what I'm saying? I thought this kid was going to prom, but he just a regular hood lover. But Da Vinci umbrella for the rain is crazy. I don't think y'all get it. The dame really had snakes in her hand. And I don't know if these are uncles, but they look like they all killing by her. And why this kid always showing his grills on me? Had to take my plate to go. Too many savages in the building.
So with kids seeing this, they are wanting and they are expecting or they are feeling the need to be able to put it on at that level. There is literally a trend right now of young girls, 18-year-olds talking about like how much I spent for prom. And they're posting this. And I'm like, I don't see what the necessity is in posting content like this. Like, you claim you're not bragging, but it's clear as day you are bragging to some extent. Like, why do you feel the need to post this form of content? It seems like you feel like the more money you spent on prom, the better your experience was for prom, or the better you are. Take a look at this TikTok.
Comments like this is just so funny because first of all, y'all got it all mixed up. I'm just gonna clear a lot of comments right now. Anyways, so a lot of people are just saying like, oh, 10K, that's ridiculous, la 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 la, which is understandable because I know a lot of people that's not normal for a lot of people and stuff. But as for us, my mom did that because she didn't get to go on prom when she was younger. My mom didn't have the life that she's giving me right now, and I can proudly admit that. So yeah, my mom does a lot that she couldn't do for herself. And if you know, you've been following me, then you know that my mom is pretty successful with what she does and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's not like I'm trying to brag or anything, or I even see people comparing themselves. It's not that serious. Like, I would never compare yourself because I think everybody, like, I've seen looks that cost $200 that looked cute. Like, it does not matter, but I'm just telling you what it was for me. Like, and the main thing that was all expensive was the shoes. And I really wanted those shoes and stuff, so it was cute. And I also keep saying that people keep saying that black people got their priorities messed up and stuff. And y'all always saying this about me. Y'all don't know what goes on behind closed doors. Like, y'all keep saying, oh, we spending this. Obviously, if we spending it, we got more in the savings. Or obviously, if we spending it, we doing smart stuff with our money. And y'all don't even know what we doing with it. Like, y'all be like, oh, she's just a spoiled brat, yada, yada. Actually, we do a lot of stuff that I don't post. Like, we give back a lot, like a lot. But I don't post that because who's going to post somebody? Like, when you're giving back to somebody, you're not supposed to post stuff like that. I only show y'all what my mom does for me. But y'all don't know what we doing with money besides the good stuff that we doing and the experiences and stuff. And prom was an experience, so it's like we did that. Like, it's not much to explain to y'all. Then I also seen somebody saying like, oh, some illegal money has to be going on here. Why, when y'all see somebody that's either black or Hispanic or anything, it gotta be illegal? Like, it's just not, no, it's not adding up. Like, that was disrespectful and rude, and ain't nothing illegal over here at all. But for the most part, thank you for everybody that was being nice and stuff. And also, My mom said that she will do a video like saying what she does and stuff like for her job, because we get a lot of like comments and a lot of people DM us about it, and a lot of people just want to do like the same thing, I guess. So she says she's open to sharing some stuff. But to sum it up for all like the hate and stuff, my mom worked really hard for everything that she has and everything that she does for us, and that's why she's gonna do it, just like y'all parents would do the same, or some of y'all parents do. Even the people that don't have it all, y'all, some people parents still give them everything. So it's like, why y'all hating? Like, it's no need to hate. I promise you, life gets better. If you don't hate, then you'll be way happier. And also, when I post, it's not to brag. I post for the people that want to see it. Like, you know, and it's fun. Like, everybody's on this app. Why? Like, what?
Now, granted, she looked absolutely beautiful. She looked stunning. And she's just one of the many that decided to post how much they spent for prom in total, though I don't feel like it's anybody's business. Because of TikToks like this, girls can feel pressured to have to amount their prom experience or amount the cost of their prom to this girl's prom to look just as good as her, or to get their viral moment once again. And we have to keep in mind that most prom goers are 18 or younger, so they are even more heavily influenced to make these rash financial decisions or beg their parents to make these rash financial decisions to keep up with the Joneses. And lastly, I'm going to speak about economic social factors, okay? We know that families with higher disposable incomes, they don't feel the need to spend a lot of money on events that they find to be like minuscule, or to spend money on events in general. Spend money in general, should I say, on like little things. If we're being honest, and we all know that Black communities, specifically, you all say like, people will like to say like, oh, the hood prom, like, oh my God, the hood kids, they just do the absolute most. Like, their prom is so massive. But then you see they're in the projects in the background of the video. We all know statistically, when people make less money, they tend to spend more to look more wealthy. Whereas people that already have the money, and you can literally see it within their houses, you can see within their cars, sometimes not even their cars, but they know that they're doing it and they have it on and they don't have to prove anything, they don't spend as much. Hence why people will compare like, oh my God, like, look at these rich celebrity kids going to prom. They didn't do the most, versus they'll compare to a regular kid or a kid from the hood that did the absolute most for prom, but it's because they may never have the chance to put that ish on again in their coming years. A rich child is more inclined to have multiple opportunities to be able to continue dressing up and looking nice. This is not like their end all be all. And I've even seen some people say things along the lines that they believe Black children spend so much more for prom because they're not likely to get married, specifically young Black girls. And you can be offended by this, because I know at first I was like, ooh, that's a bit rude. Or if you really look at statistics, Black women do get married way less. And maybe without intentionally thinking, this is the last time you're gonna see your baby girl in a big ball gown or in a dress. So you're like, I'm gonna make sure my daughter looks her absolute best and is able to look luxury and fancy because this may be her last moment. And even the idea of Black baby showers being so incredibly massive, y'all. We know the baby showers be looking like weddings at some moments. But then you see the girl is either at the baby shower alone, or she's with her boyfriend, not her husband, at this baby shower. And it looks like a full wedding. And even me as a Black person, I can say I've been to more baby showers than I've been weddings. And I'm 23 years old. I have not been to a wedding in 5 years. Since 2019 was the last wedding I went to. So 5 years. Oh my God, damn. My prom was 6 years ago, guys, not 5 years ago. Okay, wow. 2018. But anyways, that's besides the point. But that was the last wedding I went to. So we have to be honest that sometimes these coming of age celebrations are celebrated like it's the very last one that your child will ever have. Because if you look at the statistics, it is likely that your Black child may have this be their last big celebration. And I'm not saying it's right, y'all. Let's be for real, because y'all know I always want to put Black people up here, but the statistics don't lie. And of course, there's a lot of factors that go into that. And my last and final talking point in terms of like Black prom versus white prom has to do with the fact that Black people just were eligible to be going to prom, okay? As I told y'all the history of prom, prom has a very racist history, and Black children were not allowed to go to prom. You know, a lot of people probably did not know that prom wasn't really accepted for Black children until the 1970s. We inevitably may have adapted to the concept that we were not able to go to prom, so that now we have to make up for all those years, and now we really have to put that ish on. Just Black people in general, our creativity, our artistry, our aura, all that comes together, we just look phenomenal for prom. And I was one of the people that was like sitting here like, oh my God, all these Black kids are spending all this money for prom. Now, I still think we need to spend in reasonable amounts, okay? I don't think prom needs to be tens and 20 20s of thousands of dollars. Like, I just don't agree with that. But with knowing the history of prom, I have more of a softer look at the girls that are spending the thousands of dollars for prom, or their families that are spending this much money. There is a deep history behind prom, and I'm glad that I now know, and now you guys know, why prom is so expensive and why Black people go so hard for prom. Even if you didn't know personally, there is a deep-rooted history of racism from prom. But you guys, that is the end of today's video and why prom is so expensive today. If you guys like this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. I want to hear what your prom experience was like. Were you one of those kids that was spending a whole bunch of money on prom? And if you're going to prom, are you spending a lot of money for prom? Because I know I have a lot of girlies that are like 16, 17, 18. So I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say when it comes to prom. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I love and I appreciate the support so very much. And I will see you all in my very next video. Love you guys. Bye. Mwah.
Taking you in this moment, come get close like you own it. Read your aura.